Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Rock Hopper Fly Fishing. Man, it's good to have you back. And for those who've never seen any of my videos, thanks for watching this one. Go down and like and subscribe, man. Today I'm talking about a technique that's so deadly effective, simple, easy to learn, easy to pick up and do. Catches so many fish that by the time you watch this video, it might be outlawed. We're talking about high stick and dry dropper today. Let's get into it. I've had a lot of questions and comments about high sticking, and even though I've touched on it in several videos, I just wanted to take all of that information and put it in one place in this video. So I'm really gonna try to cover it from the windows to the walls and everything in between. Until the sweat, okay, you get it. See, this is like a cheat code to the Smoky Mountains. This is the one thing that you can do to improve your success, your luck, your quality of life. You know, you're just gonna come out here and catch fish. So not only am I gonna talk about high sticking today, but I'm also gonna teach you how to rig dry dropper. I'm gonna show you how I approach holes, how I employ stealth tactics, and stay behind these fish. I'm also gonna talk about proper fish handling techniques as I go, because I know, as I do, that you wanna be proper stewards of these mountains. And I'm just gonna share you know, some tips and tricks that I use to put the fish back in a timely manner and to take care of them and to protect this resource for coming generations. All right, we're gonna talk about the optimal setup for high sticking in the Smoky Mountains. I'm gonna tell you what I use. I'm gonna give you guys some options on things that you could use. Hopefully, something that you have at home right now can work for you. If you have an 8-foot, an 8.5 foot, a 9-foot, or a 10-foot rod, you can high stick exactly the way that I'm gonna lay it out for you right here. Now, this is my optimized setup. This is what I do primarily. I do it 365 days a year. It's what I teach in my guide service, and it's what I practice when I fish. I use a 9-foot 3-weight syndicate fly rod. This is my favorite fly rod for high sticking. You don't have to go out and buy one of these. Like I said, if you have a rod, you can try to use that. But this is the gold standard of high sticking. Now, they don't make rods for high sticking. Nobody makes rods for high sticking. This is a Euro nymph rod, but it just works so well. It's like it was made for high sticking. I use a regular, you know, weight specific. This is a 3-weight rod, so I've got a 3-weight line on here. It's a floating fly line. You know, this is just your standard stuff. I like to teach basic, simple things. You know, I want people to be able to go back home and use what they have, and most likely, you know, they just have a regular fly rod with a regular fly line. We'll go out here to the end of the fly line. Loop-to-loop connection to a 9-foot 5X leader. There's no need to get any fancy with it. You know, I teach simple, I teach basic. This is all you need. Go to the store and buy one. They come in a little pack like this. I'm gonna open it up, unfurl it. Attach that to the end of your fly line. Just like that. And you're good to go. Now we're gonna go right down to the end of this leader. Not gonna do anything to it. All the way down to the end, and that's where we're going to connect our dry fly. Now, what kind of fly are we going to use? That's a question that I get all the time. I'm going to tell you something about the Smoky Mountains, and I don't want you to take this back to wherever you plan to fish if it's not in the Smoky Mountains, and think that this works there as well. This works here. Fish are very opportunistic here. They have many different types of food sources and not very many big prolific hatches where they get keyed in on one specific thing. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to give fish something that looks like food, something suggestive, something that really could be a number of things, like an ant or a beetle or a wasp that fell into the water. This fly that I'm going to use, I'm going to tell you exactly what it is though. This is a PMX. It's got the little rubber legs, it's got the white post, it's really easy to see. The main thing that this fly has going for it, every fly that I'm going to use, it has plenty enough hackle that it's going to float really well. You need a high floating dry fly. You need a bushy dry fly. You want a fly with enough hackle that it sits there in the water and it holds up your nymph. Say we're going to have a nymph tied off the bend of this hook that's going to be sunk down under the water, and it has weight on it. We want our fly to be easy to see, and we want it to be able to hold up a nymph. Now, I use a dry fly in a size 14. I think a size 16 dry fly is going to get eaten more, but it's just not big enough to do what we need it to do. So size 14 is a nice kind of midway point. You want to be using this fly right here. Now, you don't have to go out and buy this fly. I'm just showing you what I'm using. You can get, a whole number of flies. A royal wolf is a good fly. A stimulator dry fly, that's a well-known fly. You can find those all over the place. I like them in any color. You can get yellow or olive or red or whatever you want. The only thing we're looking for is bushy. It looks like food. It'll hold up a dropper nymph. All right, we got the dry fly tied on to the end of our leader. Now, you can fish this just like this. You can put some floating on this fly and you can fish it and you'll catch plenty of fish. But I like to increase my chances. A lot of fish feed subsurface, even in a small stream like this. So I catch about 50% of my fish on the dry fly. I catch about 50% of my fish on the dropper nymph. Now, what I've found to be true most often is the bigger fish come from the bigger holes. And to catch those fish, they're down a little bit deeper. So I always recommend, go ahead, put you a dropper nymph on this fly so that you're covering the top of the water and you're covering the water column that's a little bit lower also. You're not gonna, most of the time, get all the way down to the bottom, but that's okay. We really don't want to be down to the bottom in most situations. Now, to go off of this fly with a dropper nymph, you want to get you some 5X tippet, just a spool of 5X tippet. You can get nylon, you can get the Mirage. I think I have some here. So you can get fluorocarbon, you can get nylon or fluorocarbon, it doesn't really matter. Fluorocarbon sinks a little bit faster. In some situations I like to use it, but just remember that fluorocarbon is stronger than nylon. So if you're using a nylon 5X leader and then you go with the fluorocarbon tippet, then you're always going to break off your entire rig when you get hung up. Or if a fish break, you know, if you set the hook too hard on a fish, you're always going to break this stuff, your leader, instead of this. So just keep that in mind. One thing you could do is, if you want to use fluorocarbon tippet down to your dropper nymph, is you can use a 9-foot 4X nylon leader. I like to tell people to use the length of their arm, and then as you go along, if you start hanging into the bottom too much, to take a little bit off of that. You take 2 or 3 or 4 inches off at a time until you get that sweet spot where you're just hanging the bottom about once every 10 casts. But today, I know that I'm fishing. I've been fishing up through here. I know I'm fishing shallow water. I'm going to use a little bit less than my arm's length of leader, of tippet. Pull that off of there. There it is, about how much I want to use. Don't bite it with your teeth. It's terrible for your teeth. Use, you know, I don't know. I've got plenty of things around here. Just used to doing it this way. I'm going to take the section of tippet that I have, and I'm going to attach it right to the bend of the hook. I've got my dry fly tied on to the end of my leader. I've got my tippet tied off the bend of the hook on the dry fly, and now I'm going to attach my nymph. There is no way that I can show you this thing. Can you see it? You can use any type of nymph that you like. I like to use a pheasant tail most often, but you can use a pheasant tail, prince nymph, hare's ear nymph, just about anything. A zebra midge, but I like to use it in a size 16. Bead head. That's very important. You want it to have just a little bit of weight. You want it to get down there. But a size 16, you know, it's not gonna go right down to the bottom. It's gonna slowly sink down and you know, right about this far under the surface of the water. Size 16 pheasant tail nymph. There you go. And that's the whole rig for dry fly and dropper. You've got your leader that goes down to the dry fly, and then you've got your tippet goes down to your dropper nymph. Now, the way you fish this is, I mean, you may or may not know this. Your dry fly floats and your nymph sinks. So what you're always looking for is you're watching this fly right here. You're watching your dry fly. Dry fly floats on the surface of the water. If a fish comes out and eats this fly, you're gonna see it. There's gonna be a splash, or, you know, sometimes a fish will just barely grab this and it'll go down onto the water. You're always watching for movement in this fly. If there's a splash, if it goes down onto the water, you set the hook. And that's really all there is to it. Let's go catch a fish on it. All right, here I've got a hole. It's not really got enough depth through the middle of it to catch a fish, but right up at the top of it there's a little hole. All I have to do is put my flies on the other side of that rock, lift my line up to my fly, and let it drift through there, and I should catch a fish right there in the top of it. Yep. Very cool. All right, now you're gonna see me wet my hands. I'm gonna take care of the fish gently, unhook him from my fly, show him to the camera, and right back in the water. See you, Bubba. Now let's go talk about that hole we just caught a fish out of. All right, right up above that rock is that last hole that we were fishing, and this is why I was able to catch a fish out of there. I used these rocks as cover. I cast it across that rock to that deep hole that's on the top of it. Now, with this stuff in between us, that fish that was living right over there in that hole, right over in there, he had no idea that we were here. And that's the mindset I want you to be in out here on these streams, is just use the cover, you know, use the water, use the boulders, use the trees, and you can sneak up on these fish without them even knowing you're here. Whoa, nice one. There he is, right there. See, Bubba? Oh-ho! Take it easy, Bubba. I'll get you right back in the water. All right. We always want to wet our hands before we touch these fish. And the reason being, my hands are dripping wet here. They have this protective slime layer. And that, it's like a moth. Let me put them back in the water here. That's another trick. You don't want to be holding these fish out of the water no more than 30 seconds. You know how if you knock the dust off a moth's wing, they can't fly anymore? The slime layer on the fish is the same way. They have that slime layer to protect themselves against infection, and without it, they just dry up and die. So that's why it's so important. We want to wet our hands. We want to hold the fish as little as possible. We want to get them back in the water within 30 seconds. And hopefully next time you come out here, the next angler that comes up through here can catch that same fish and hopefully treat it with the same amount of respect as we did. Good stuff, man. All right, yeah. Get my busted net on this guy. Look at that dude. Yep. See, Bubba? I fell and I broke my net. I got it duct taped. It's working so far.
Oh, as long as you didn't impale yourself.
I broke my net. I'll duct tape it. All right, I've got this little hole right here that I want to go and try to fish. I've got a limb coming down this way, a limb that goes across the top of it, and a limb that's all the way at the top of the hole there too. So I'm just going to come in here a little bit, and I'm going to make a nice roll cast. Because I'm high sticking, I don't need a back cast. I just need to put my fly right in there into that water, and I can do that very accurately. And there it is right there. And there's a fish. Oh, that was a real nice fish. I'll tell you what I did there is I've got that limb up above me. I just was a little reluctant to really set the hook on that fish. And that really gets in your head sometimes when you know you're going to have to set the hook up into a tree. Well, sometimes it's best to just go ahead and do it, because that was a nice fish. I would have liked to land it, but we'll go on and get another. And that right there is why we fish a green weenie in the spring and summertime. It's a natural food source. It's not a trash fly. Matching the hatch, y'all. And look at that. There he goes again. Little inchworm. Look at him. Green weenie. All right, I got a real big hole right here. It's a lot of water to fish in front of me. It's all got depth and current, but it is awful clear, so I'm going to try to stay back from it. I'm keeping some things between me and the fish. Oh, there he is. And see, that rock hid my presence. I'll wet my hands. Don't want to take any of that slime coat off the fish. They need that to survive. Pop him off and right back in the water. See you, Bubba. All right, I think this is a good spot to talk to you about how I'm casting the rod and how I'm getting a good dead drift with my flies. I have this whole thing that I say to people whenever I first meet them, and I am telling them how we fish, and that's what I'm gonna do with you. I'm gonna guide you. This is my spiel that I do this with every trip. Right. We just work with about this much line. Whenever I hand it to you, it's ready to fish. There's never any reason to pull any line out or reel any line in unless I ask you to do so. And the amount of line that we're going to be working with is our 9-foot leader and about a foot of line out of the tip of the rod there. Now, for casting, I'm going to start in a neutral position, and I'm just going to lay my flies out there in a roll cast. It starts here. It doesn't start with a back cast. There's lots of trees and all kinds of things around here that we can get hung up in. It starts from here at a neutral position, and it tracks straight to where you want your flies to go in a straight line. And when you make your cast, you want to lift most of your line up off the water, but not all of it, and then follow the fly. You just keep up with your fly, and that makes a nice dead drip. I'm going to do it right here. I hope you can see this. I know GoPro doesn't do distance very well. This is the only place I can get you right now. I've already fished this hole out, so you know, I don't think that there's a chance that I'm going to catch a fish. I'm just demonstrating what I've been doing in the whole video. Hopefully you can see that well enough, and I demonstrated it well. If you notice, I'm like Alanis Morissette when I fish. I've got one hand in my pocket. All right, there's another nice hole right up here on the other side of these rocks. I'm gonna hold the camera up so that you can see the hole, see what I'm talking about. I'm kind of too high up on the hole. I'm coming at it from an angle from the side, and I'd like to be approaching the fish from the back. But just the way that the stream is, there's no way that I can get right behind the fish. So I'm going to use the rocks as cover. I'm going to stay behind them. I'm going to try to make a cast in there without any of the fish knowing that I'm here. Right up there. There's that real big hole right up there. Here's the rocks that I'm going to use to hide my presence from the fish. All right, now as you're moving up to this hole, you don't want to hold your rod out in front of you, because you're going to hold it out over the hole as you get close to it. We're going to stay down low. I'm going to point my rod behind me, and I'm going to get right up here, and I'm going to sit down on this rock. Another thing you don't want to be doing is talking really loud to a GoPro. I don't know if they can hear you, but it's a possibility. Now I'm ready to make my cast. I've decided that I want to start in the top of it, and here we go. Oh, now I got this tree over here. I had a fish that ate my bottom fly. I set the hook, I didn't land the fish, and it popped off, and I got up here in this tree. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay, like I keep saying, I'm going to stay low. I'm going to try to get my fly back, and maybe I can make a cast from over there somewhere. All right, do you remember how I told you I couldn't get behind the fish? Well, I found a way over here to get my fly, and now I'm behind the fish. Is it too late? Oh, and I broke my fish off. Damn, what a fish too. I see him down there trying to get rid of my fly. All right, this hole is real shallow and clear back here in the back of it, and then it goes up to that plunge pool that's a little deeper up there at the top, and that's what I want to get up there to fish, but I don't want to alert the fish to my presence back here in this shallow stuff. So I'm going to try to get down low. I'm going to move my rod so I'm not holding it over the hole, and I'm going to get up here right to the edge of this. And I have spooked a fish out of the back of this already. I've spooked another fish over there I just saw. They can really tell you're here in water like this. There he is. Haha, right out of that deeper hole. On the dry fly too, so that goes to show you this dry fly that I'm using is absolutely ridiculous, but it catches fish. It doesn't look like anything that this fish should be eating, but it looks like it could be, so that's why they eat it. He's all kind of wrapped up. I'm gonna put him right back in the water. There you go. And that happens a lot when you're fishing dry fly and dropper, is if you catch a fish on the dry fly, they flop around and tangle you all to pieces. But it just takes a little bit of patience. And there we go, I've got it right. I can go right back to fishing. All right, and we're back. And this is the thing about using a traditional fly line and leader, is if I need to air out a little bit of a cast, I can do that. I missed that chance. That might be my last chance in there. All right, here's the point where I'm just going to shut up and fish. You can see what I'm doing. I've got a really nice hole up there that I can go up and try to fish. I'm just going to go through here. I'm going to keep some things between me and the fish, and just stay low, and I'm going to catch a big fish out of this hole, but only if I do everything right. Wow, well, not the big one I was talking about, but I'll take him. You know, I don't know if there's any better reason to come to the Smoky Mountains. If you come here to fish and you're not after these little things, oh, there he goes. You're not after these little dudes, I don't know what you're doing. So what I've done is I covered this hole. I covered it farther back here, and I caught a fish out. Hopefully it didn't spook the rest of the pool, because I'm going to keep moving through it and fishing all the way to the top. And maybe up there in the top of it, I can catch a better fish. Oh yeah, that's what I'm looking for. No! Oh no, buddy. Come here. I'll get you right back in the water. Come on. Pretty fish, right back in the water. See you, Bubba. I could have caught more fish out of this hole, but before I came up and spooked them all. But that fish was sitting there flopping on the bank. He grabbed hold of my dry fly, came off, got hooked on the nymph, came off of that right on the bank. So I wanted to do everything I could to get him right back in the water. And you know, I don't need to catch every fish that's in here anyways. I'll hit this hole next time I come up through here. Wow, that's a good fish. There we go. That's what we've been looking for right there. Yeah, man, look at that dude. Look at the colors on him. Very cool. I went down there next to the rock and just hung out. And this right here is a bow and arrow cast. I've talked about this in some of my other videos. I've caught a few fish bow and arrow casting, but that's when you don't have enough room to make a cast. You can slingshot it right in there to where the fish are. And this is how I do it right here. I shorten up my line just a little bit. I take my dry fly, that's my top fly, and I hold it on the back of the fly back here away from the hook point. And when I pull this back, it's going to make a bend in that rod. You see right there? When I pull back, it's going to make a bend in that rod. Well, what's very important, you can't see my face, but you want to hold this out away from your face. And then let it go. And there he is. Yes, sir. Up. He just come off right there. That was a nice fish. Aren't they all nice fish when they come off? That was a nice one though. We're coming back up to a nice big hole here. You can looking at this, you can pretty much approach it any way that you would like. So ideally we're going to stay back here behind the fish. We'll stay back behind them and fish up through that hole. And from the back we can really cover the whole thing. Ow. Careful where you put your knees. There's a fish on the dry fly. Put him right back over there in the water. He was all wrapped in my line, so I got him unwrapped the best way I know how. Look at that mess. What a fish just came after it and refused it. Oh, that's the best fish of the day. Yeah. All right. Man, what some colors. Somebody tell them it's not spawning season yet. They're getting colored up for it though. Man, that's a pretty fish. Wet my hands real good. Grab hold of this trophy right here. Look at that. Wow. See you, Bubba. All right, that's gonna do it for me. I hope I was able to answer some of your questions on how to high stick and why it matters so much. I really think that it's the ultimate cheat code to catching fish in the Smoky Mountains or in any small stream. So if you have any more questions, you just go down and leave them in the comments. And if you found any value in this video, could you please go down and hit the like button, subscribe to my channel. I'm gonna keep trying to make videos like this, and I'm gonna keep trying to make them better. So thanks for watching. See you on the next one.